Hey everyone, welcome to Filmme Talk. I'm May Melendez, and I'm joined here today by my ever so lovely co-host, Miss Josie Melendez, and we're gonna talk the talk of the town, which is Disney Plus Marvel's original series, latest, Moon Knight, El Caballero de la Luna.
El Caballero de la Luna.
I love saying that. Starring
Los
Oscar
miércoles
Isaac.
a las 3 de la mañana.
Los miércoles a las 3 de la mañana. Televisa presenta.
Televisa presenta.
It's starring Oscar Isaac, Estrada
Hernández Estrada.
Hernández Estrada. I'm
Estrada.
so sorry. I'm so sorry, Daddy. So we're going to be talking about Moon Knight and just giving our overall thoughts since today has been the premiere of the 4th episode of 6 episodes of what Disney likes to call a limited series event. Something like that. They call it an event. They don't call these series because that's too passe. They call these events, which these up. Yeah, they're trying to spice it up, but the spice that they're using is expired cayenne. Yeah, it stings a little bit, doesn't it? It stings more to watch it. So, Moon Knight premiered about 4 weeks ago and starred Oscar Isaac as the hero, the anti-hero,
role.
the titular role, as they all tend to say. I saw actually not someone asking,
Post
but I
Lady
saw.
Bird.
No, ew.
No, post Lady Bird times. The titular role.
I know. I don't like Lady Bird.
I know. Continua.
I'm so sorry. Respectfully, ew. So. We have Oscar Isaac in this series, which he, somebody please get him a chiropractor because he's carrying it on his beautiful back. And we also have Ethan Hawke as the, quote unquote villain here, as well as a bunch of other people that we don't really see. You never know. They always got a little twist.
I know, but he's
the villain, but
he is pretty villainous, yeah.
The first shot of the series is literally him breaking glass and putting it in his shoes and stepping on it. And I replicate that feeling by going to grad school. We are one and the same. So the show premiered to much applause, much, accolades and critical acclaim, not from us, but from the majority of the general audience. So I'm really happy for y'all. I'm happy for you. Isn't that condescending when people tell you that? Oh my God, good for you. I'm so happy you liked it. Here's the thing. Overall thoughts. Josie, you saw this before I did, and you really set me up to I had something to prove when you told me what you thought of it.
It's that I remember, I'm gonna be straightforward, I was disappointed watching the show because I got early screeners, so they gave us the first 4 episodes out of 6, and I just remember being like, Ileana, when you watch it, I just need to know your opinion to know if it's just me. Is something wrong with me? Because the thing is that when I was by the way, I said I was going to say this, and I am going to say it. If my voice sounds weird, it's because I am sick. I do not have COVID. I got tested, all negatives. Call me Neo in The Matrix because I'm dodging COVID like a champ.
I'm going to put the title of this episode, Moonlight Review, with COVID? Emotional.
Knock on wood that I don't jinx it. But, I'm just regular sick. Because my body betrayed me in the fight against natural selection. So,
ouch.
That is my parentheses.
You could just say, I'm sorry to the audience. I'm sorry that my voice sounds huskier. I'm just a little bit sick.
Well, my friends used to joke that when I got sick and this happened, I wouldn't be Josie anymore. I would be Jose.
You really are, Jose. So what did you think?
I thought, let's go. So, when I wasn't sick of the show, that's the good segue. I honestly...
I haven't interrupted you. Go on. Go off, sis.
So, I was watching the show, and I was like, Ileana, I'm going to need your opinion on this, because a lot of people were loving Moon Knight, and I just didn't feel that pull, that draw into the show. But I did want to continue watching. I was curious. I wasn't.
Would you say it was a lack of gravitational pull? Sorry. Si es muda explota. Go on.
So, I was curious, but I wasn't in love with the show, which is a very good theme to hold in life, especially in your romantic life. But with this show specifically, I really wanted to know where it was going. But I did not, because a lot of people were like, yeah, it goes into the horror elements, it goes into the thriller aspects. I was not feeling that. I honestly did not feel any gravitational pull until the end of the 3rd episode and the entirety of the 4th episode. The 4th episode is absolutely, by far, hands down, my favorite, and my expectations are high again, because my expectations were super high. I was anticipating the show so much going into it. Then I started watching it, and unfortunately, I wasn't vibing. I really wasn't a big fan of the show. But when I got to episode 4, I was like, everything changes. It is worth watching. It is worth viewing. Though I will say, even though I do like it now, it upsets me that it took us 4 episodes to get for me to feel this way. What about you? Before we get into, the nitty-gritty.
See, I was super hype. Again, the trailer's super promising. I'm foaming at the mouth to see Oscar Isaac as a superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And not only that, hyping it up as something more mature, more adult, more akin. And, the fact that this premiered after the Netflix Marvel shows made their move to Disney. And, my Lord and Savior seasons 1, 2, 3.
That was the thing.
Of Daredevil.
People that
made
saw
it to Disney Plus. I'm like, okay.
Like, oh yeah, this is Daredevil-esque, and you love it. So I was like, okay. And I've seen 1 episode. I know I've seen the choreography. I know at least a little bit, and I was expecting a lot. I'm an ally.
You're an ally of the Daredevil community. She's
Say
an ally.
Ally. But. Yeah, so
right.
Following your expectations and following how you've spoken about Daredevil as a whole, because again, I haven't seen the entirety of it. Again, I was expecting something that I didn't get.
Right. And, we're circling on back to those nasty, those pesky expectations, which is what kind of ruins it makes or break the game for a lot of people with these Disney Plus series in particular. So when Josie told me that she wasn't really vibing with the show, and she was actually big mad that she wasn't vibing with it, because she's like, I'm so excited. I have 4 episodes to watch of Moon Knight before anybody else. I'm gonna whip it out. And then she started watching it and just slowly deflated, like in that old 2000s, drug commercial? The deflated person. I'll put it up here. Y'all know what I'm talking about. She just became that. Her entire, all excitement and joy drained from her body.
I just love how...
I was like, you know what? I got something to prove now. I'm like, I'm gonna... Maybe she's just not into it right now.
Because, how you got...
It could be a mood thing. Who knows? Wait, you had just seen Turning Red.
You just got all of that through text messages and voice messages, because at first it was all caps, and then it changed to.
The letters got smaller and smaller.
It's not that good, and
you're like, ooh. I'm not quite chuffed anymore, bruv.
Yeah.
Big yikes. So naturally, I was like, I felt like I had something to prove, and I'm like, if I end up loving this, I'm going to laugh. I'm gonna like make you rewatch it. Like I felt like I had something to prove, and then I watched the first episode. So that y'all don't go like, oh, you know, these girls have the same opinion always. They're always just like depending on each other.
Who says that? I'm a square up.
I don't know who says that. I just kind of like, I just cover my bases for whoever possibly says that. But like, if anyone thinks that we just like copy paste our opinions, you got a storm coming. So I really thought that I was going to like this because you haven't seen Daredevil, and perhaps like you haven't seen the entirety of Daredevil, and I was like, perhaps like because I'm a little bit more weathered in these whereabouts and these parts in this neck of the woods, I would vibe with it more quickly. 'Tis not the case. I saw that first episode, and I think I was even more disappointed than you were. I'm not gonna lie. I was mean.
Because I stayed quiet.
Which, you know,
I stayed quiet.
It was just
I didn't tweet anything.
You really did.
Because I did post a social reaction because, of course, I got the screeners. And I was very vague. Because, again, it was at that point where no one was talking. Everyone was...
You were like, shh.
It
sucks.
Because everyone was loving it. Everyone on my timeline. Even people... Because some people replied to my react.
But were you silent or were you silenced?
Everyone was loving it, so I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer. Also, I genuinely wanted to support Oscar Isaac because if there's something
Which
that's very consistent with the series so far, is that despite how I felt after every episode, I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed seeing what he did. I enjoyed how he put his whole Oscar Isaac into it. He's just the best part. And, like, obviously going into the further episodes, I do like how they actually give their female characters something to work with, because I love Layla, so that's also something that got me into the show more by episode 3 and 4, because Layla was more prominent. But if there is something that's consistent, is that Oscar Isaac is really good in the series as a whole. I think he gives one of the best performances in the MCU as a whole, counting the shows. And that's up there with, like, Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, because the thing about Oscar Isaac, he's not boxed in by the MCU. He's kind of like
he can play around.
He is you know, Elizabeth Olsen's there. Yeah, he can. The thing about Oscar Isaac is that he's so versatile, and he can do, like, he has proven that he can be a leading man in these big blockbusters and just be a chameleon and just be fantastic with every role, and especially when he is having fun with the role. And you can tell that he really had fun with this, even though arguably wasn't given the best script, wasn't given the best perhaps material compared to his previous work, but he still gave it his all. He's still giving it his all.
That man.
He is an alchemist. He is a cinematic alchemist,
Paulo
and
Coelho.
I stand by it. It's not to just be like a stan. So honestly, with every episode that passes on, like, even if you're like us and you're not really vibing with the series as a whole, I think many of us can agree to a certain extent that Oscar Isaac is truly the crown jewel of the series and of the Disney Plus Marvel series. Because again, he gives it his all, and he also has one of the most difficult roles to deal with. I think anything that's comparable it's Wanda. It's Scarlet Witch. Like, that's like the most comparable role in terms of like duality, difficulty, and just something more complex. And he just, from the very first moment he's on camera to the moment that the episode ends, he gives it his all, and he is like the one part of the episode that I find myself pressing play for. Because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be watching this. I'm not gonna lie.
I kept going. Like, I binged the first 3, and then the 4th one I left it for the day after to watch by itself. For a moment, I was even thinking, hey, maybe it's because I'm watching these in broad daylight, because some people were like, oh, this is scary. And I'm like, maybe it's because I have the curtains open and the sun is pouring.
And you're more of a scaredy cat than I am. Let me tell you.
And I wasn't scared at all. Maybe, like, the only moment I felt panic was in that fourth episode, because I genuinely felt, it wasn't that I was scared, it was mostly that you're wondering, hey, are they actually gonna hurt these characters, or they're gonna face, like,
it's the first time we're faced with tension, with consequences.
Yeah. Especially with Layla, with that fight, which is one of my favorite scenes from that episode. And then, of course, if you have made it this far, spoilers, we're gonna talk about the episodes, but, you know,
if you haven't seen today's episode, skip ahead.
When he falls backwards, and I'm gonna leave it at that, so it's very vague and not spoilery. But yeah, that moment, there are actually consequences, and that's what I liked, because I remember talking to you because I was trying to, like, understand my feelings, and with those especially the first episode, what was very bothersome is that we are left on the outside looking in with Steven, which is understandable. It is necessary. But watching it that first time, it just bothered me because it felt like a cop-out whenever they would switch between personalities, because they would be like, oh yeah, this show's gonna be super gruesome, but then everything that required action and violence was chopped away because of that switch in personality, because Steven isn't conscious in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Which I can understand the narrative decision to go that route for the first episode. Not the second and third. Don't continue it. Like, I know, I understand, like, you know, little by little, very slowly, we're seeing more of Mark be exposed to us. We're seeing more of that violence and that deal between Mark and Khonshu. But you only have 6 episodes to work with, which brings us back to that frustration of, it genuinely takes us 4 episodes to get here for it to be good, and then all of a sudden we only have 2 episodes left.
Yeah, because
there's barely any time.
In episode 3, it was interesting when they did that, because then you have also obviously Mark and Steven going, like, if you didn't do it and I didn't do it, then who was it? And it's like Jake creeping. Like,
Jake's. It's the reverse of the Homer Simpson, you know, creeping out of the bushes. Hello.
But so there, like, it was interesting, because then we as an audience, especially because I didn't know about Moon Knight, I started reading up on Moon Knight after watching the episodes, because I was like, hey, sometimes it is an advantage not to know anything, because then you can go in with fresh eyes. So I saw the first 4 episodes, and then, okay, now it's time to do research. And I looked up Moon Knight, I looked up his history, everything with the comics, and at that moment, like, before watching, I was like, oh, that's interesting. What's going on? Was it Khonshu? And then you realize, oh, no, there are more personalities to this character.
Right.
And that was interesting. But in episode 2, I think one moment that I genuinely did like, that, because I remember telling you also, I wish we could have gotten more of Mark at first. Love Steven. I have grown so attached to Steven in the past few days. But
Steven has been an acquired taste for me. Yeah, but I digress.
Exactly. Now I want to protect him, and if anyone hurts him, I will hurt them. But at first I was like, I want more of Mark, because, I mean, Mark is
daddy.
But I did like in episode 2 when he just got very violent and he broke the reflection, and we saw more of his character. And I really liked that, because it showed a lot of that, like, what's the word that everyone was using? But that word that, oh, it's edgy. This show is so edgy. That was the first moment I was like, is this what people are talking about? Because you generally saw the difference between Steven and Mark. Steven and Mark.
Right.
Pero that was my other complaint, that I didn't feel any attachment. So, for example, in episode 3, when Khonshu unfortunately gets trapped and sealed in stone, I didn't really care the first time around. After having rewatched the episodes, I genuinely did care now. But it just falls on the writing. I think the writing needed a lot more time and focus on it, just because it's just so hard to care about these characters, which is understandable because there is so much going on. But that's the problem. I think they're focusing more on spectacle than actual character, and they're just focusing on the plot. Then, like, I generally just want to know more about these characters because we're seeing them for the first time. Let us connect with them. And it's not the issue of, like, Oscar or, like, Moon Knight being, like, different people. No, because it comes to a point, like, by episode 4, I'm like, okay, I can connect with these. But, again, it shouldn't take us 4 episodes for me to sympathize with all these people, including, like, Layla. At least the villain, Ethan Hawke's character, which I can never remember his name.
Harrow.
Yeah. He's the most fleshed out.
He's the most consistent, but at the same time, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's a little bit easier to just jump on board with a villain because by when it was episode 1 when we saw him do, like, the balance thing, the Amit balance thing. Yeah. Just with that, you get a pretty decent idea of the type of person he is. It's very much quiet. It's very quiet, deadly chaos.
Yeah, I think the problem is that we don't know Mark's motivations, and they're keeping that more as, like, a plot device to keep us interested. Like, why is Mark hiding? Why did Mark try to divorce Layla? Blah, blah, blah. And we know it's because Khonshu is plotting on, like, making her his avatar, which, honestly, I think she's gonna be Amit's avatar when she's resurrected, but that's a whole nother thing. But it shouldn't be a plot device. I know that you're trying to create tension for the story, but I really want to understand Mark more.
Honestly.
And we'll get into that in episode 5 because we are technically in his mind. That is what we have been discussing, even
That's
though
what
it
we've
wasn't
been
as
plotting, conniving.
Yeah.
I think it's his mind. I think it's his mind prison. So again, spoiler alert, there is a big twist in this episode, this 4th episode. So again, if you haven't seen it, shut this down. Go watch it. Shut it down now. Go watch it. Come back. Hi, welcome back. So the big twist here, when he falls down into, he has that worst person in the world, like, drug trip, kind of like fall down.
Also, like, Get Out and The Sunken Place.
That too. Sorry, I thought of worst person because that's the most recent movie I've seen with like that similar effect.
I was like, hey, he's going.
I know. Give Get Out. It's flowers, obviously, always. So when he has that, you know, that woo, when the edible hits, when he has that moment and falls down, and everything just kind of twists and turns, I was a little bit pissed because I was like, if these mother truckers change everything that we've been like that dealing with for the past 3 episodes and tell us it was all a lie, no, I wasn't gonna vibe with that. However, it developed. There was tension.
Now that you say it, I was like, for a split second, I was so angry.
I was mad, bro.
So I was like, if we went through all of this for nothing, I'm gonna be pissed.
But thankfully, it was not for nothing. Yeah. So it was genuinely the first time that, first of all, I gave a shit. Second of all.
True. No, it's true. Same. I was like, I am intrigued.
Honestly, it was genuinely the first time that I was intrigued, that I felt tension, that I felt that horror element throughout this episode 4. And when we have that twist and we go into his mind, it was the first time, you know, after that initial frustration, anger reaction, it was the first time that I actually cared and was like, oh God, this is what he's going through in his head. This is, like, really intense. And, you know, hi, trauma. I love when we get to the trauma of the hero. That's fun, isn't it? So we were there, and then he starts, like, opening doors and seeing all the, like, you know, other personalities, obviously, in, like, those sarcophagus, and we finally get to Steven, and this is, like, the first time Steven and Mark see each other face to face, which I thought was really, really significant. You know, and it was one of those few moments that I felt like the pacing was actually appropriate. Like, I felt like it hit the beats and the emotional beats that it was supposed to, as opposed to the other episodes. Because, yes, it took us so long to get here, but at the same time, the other episodes rushed through any substance. Again, going through things for spectacle. Because it felt like we were... Spectacle.
Because from a writing perspective, I'm going to pull out my master's. No, it's that I was trying to find the logic where, like, why wasn't I vibing with it? And it's because it just felt like those first 3 episodes were like, and then we're going here, and then we're going here, and then we're going here, and then. And
it was a yes and.
Constant yes anding. But I really wanted that, however, maybe this. You know, like, it felt like it was all just a point to get us to episode 4, and then whatever happens next will happen. But I wanted all of this before this to mean something.
Exactly. Like, I genuinely think either, if you're going to go with this pacing, give us 9 episodes. Mm-hmm. You know? Or if we're going to stick to 6 episodes, combine episodes 1 and 2. Because...
Episodes 1 and 2 could have been one long episode.
Easily. And you know what? As my beloved partner said when he saw the first episode, that suit up was weak sauce. Which it was. Because you
also left it to the end. And listen,
underwhelming.
I was underwhelmed. Though I will say one thing that stuck with me and that I highlighted in my reaction because I wanted to say something nice was that I really liked the use of symbolisms, reflections, the water, like that entire episode in the second one. But also in the end credits, there are usually like 3 mirrors, and he's always split in 3s. And also when he looks in the mirror in episode 1, like which is alluding to the fact that hopefully we should be getting Jake, because he's probably in that. I really hope it's Jake, right? Because sometimes I change
the third personality.
Yeah,
it's Jake. It's Jake. No, it's not Jack the Ripper. No.
Like that.
No, that's another guy.
Again,
no, it's Jake.
I've been reading, but sometimes for some reason my mind changes it to Jack.
Yeah, we're not the most, we're not the most well-read with Moon Knight as a character.
I just really love Titanic, so automatically I switched to Jack. But Jake, he's probably that other sarcophagus that we saw he's trying to get out. So there is they allude to all of that since episode 1. So I really like, in terms of the background, they do pay attention to details with this show. I like being able to go back. So again, the show really has good rewatchability, which I really enjoy. But it shouldn't take you 4 episodes for me to be interested. I'm going to keep saying it because it bothers me.
It has the puzzle pieces, but the puzzle pieces are fit, like, they think that they fit together, but it's like those puzzle pieces that, like, you just kind of force it into that one slot, and it just actually doesn't really go there, because the elements are there. Yeah. It's just the way that it's connected doesn't always really have the best logic. There's not the best rhyme or reason or rhythm to it, which I think is the show's biggest fault. I think they just needed more time to polish this. I think they needed more time to work on this, because again, these are things that have been produced at this point. We're 2 years into the pandemic. These are things that have been produced in the pandemic, point blank period, and shit gets difficult. And they shot on location for the majority of this series, which is pretty impressive if it weren't for the fact that the budget went into the locations and not into the CGI.
Oh, let's not even get into the CGI. I just remember watching the... I'm not trying to be mean. Like, you guys know, we love Marvel. But...
Marvel shills.
I was so embarrassed watching the CGI, and again, I got screeners, so I was like, is this not
it was like watching Ted Lasso. Just green screens everywhere.
Yeah. And I remember watching episode 4, and there was, some of it wasn't finished. Some of the backgrounds were still green screen, and I was like, oh, so maybe it is my copies, but then no, the jackal just looks like that. And
the jackal just looks like he just came out of the Lightning Thief.
And Khonshu just looks like that sometimes. Sometimes he does look good, but
Yeah.
it's just... Also, I did not appreciate, what was it, episode 2, when they do that really big, that sudden pause of him screaming as he looks at Khonshu, and I'm like, is this my copy? Is my copy ruined? No, they genuinely just pause on his reaction for some reason.
Yeah.
But there was
So,
just
you're
some
probably you're wondering how I got here.
There were just some
Didn't like
stylistic
that.
choices that I did not enjoy. But can we also talk about Egypt actually being shown as a modern civilization, like
Bruh.
an actual city?
Thank
Not
God.
like this historical wonder, which it is, but
People live
it's
there.
Not, yeah,
Hello?
it's not stuck in BC. There, like, it's an actual developed
City. Metropolis.
Yeah.
Neighborhood with real
it's
living, breathing people.
Yeah, it's an actual developed city. And I appreciate that. I also appreciate the respect they're showing to the mythology, and it doesn't feel like a caricature of itself. So that's also nice. Considering, I mean, they do have a history of showing mythology in a good light, which is good. Like, of course, Thor, Black Panther. So at least they're doing that well.
Definitely. Yeah, I think as a Rick Riordan kid, as a fan of the Kane Chronicle trilogy, I'm somewhat of an Egyptian mythology expert myself, I really like the way that the mythology is presented here as something that is a living, breathing part of the MCU that we just they've always been here. We simply haven't put a lens to it. It's not like they just suddenly, erupted.
Oh, like I was watching this analysis video the other day that was saying, like, technically the Black Panther is an avatar for Bast, and I was like, ooh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're kind of right. That's cool how it connects.
I realized when I saw Black Panther and they were like Bast, and I was like, I know that name. I was Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was like, I know that. I get it.
I just love the fact how people are like, yeah, he could technically be an avatar for Bast, and I'm like, oh, it all.
It's
I
like
how,
the
I
same
like how it's able
logic.
To connect.
Yeah.
I like how it's able to connect. Like, if they wanted to, they could easily connect it. I'm like, yes. But also, like, one of my biggest worries was, because again, Oscar Isaac is so good. I was worried they would just keep Moon Knight as this contained thing, which is hard to see with Marvel, but who knows? You never know. Even though, like, of course, WandaVision, Loki, and What If are directly connecting to the new Doctor Strange film. But I don't know. You never know. You never know. So I'm glad that Moon Knight can easily connect to the rest of the MCU, and obviously now we're gonna get Blade and all that, so hee.
I like that it can connect, but it's not dependent on it.
Me too.
I like that it's its own thing, but without being messy about it.
Though I think that's why it's so difficult for them to tell the story on its own, because they don't have anything to rely on. They had to.
Oh my God, they had to actually use their own originality and creativity.
I know. So I think that was a little bit difficult for them, or maybe I'm just looking too into that. I had a hard time with the story, though. Now I'm appreciating the show more because all the fans are always posting memes, and I'm like, that's actually funny.
A bit. But you're here for the memes, for the meme culture.
I'm here for the memes. It's not a bad show. I just wanted more. And I still do.
It feels like Disney really tamed it down because episode 4, I feel, shows us what they wanted to do from the beginning. This tone is not episode 1 at all. Episode 4
is what it should have been from the beginning. From the beginning.
Genuinely, not to put my tinfoil hat on, but I feel like that's what the showrunners wanted to do, and Disney Plus was like, no, we need to get the children. Think of the children and watch this.
Probably because, I mean, we've been sent the screeners more than 3 times. So
they need the help, I guess.
They really want people, even though it's been very acclaimed, it's getting good reviews, it's like getting a good pull, people love it. I like it. I like tuning in. I can't wait to see what happens in episode 5 after they left us with that in episode 4. It's not a bad show. Again, I just wanted more.
Yeah. And circling back to, because I feel like I didn't finish my thought entirely on the mythology. The way that it treats mythology is good, but I feel like it glosses over the mythology a little bit between episodes 1 and 2. Episodes 3 and 4 actually dive into it once we actually get to Egypt, which, makes sense. You didn't have to take that long to do that. Again, reinforcing our point that episodes 1 and 2 could have been one episode, and you could have ended the pilot with Mark waking up in Egypt. That would have been a cliffhanger. That would have been like, ooh, okay, we're getting into it now. We're diving in. Ooh, spicy.
Ooh, spicy.
So you could have had episode 4 be episode 3, because episode 4 has such a great cliffhanger. I think that would have been a really good midpoint for the series to build off of for the rest of it, because at the same time, Moon Knight is still in diapers in terms of development. We just met Moon Knight as an audience, in terms of the MCU. We just met him. He's still figuring things out, even though we can tell that Mark has been Moon Knight for quite some time. But Mark hasn't had to be Moon Knight and share being Moon Knight. This is something new for him and for Steven, obviously, and for, any other unnamed personalities that he may have. So giving us and the characters that room to grow, I think it would have been really, really beneficial for the series. But I digress. We got what we got, and we're getting what we're getting. In either case, I think these last 2 episodes I have much better hopes for, because we ended on a note of dealing directly with a goddess that, in much lore and a lot of mythology has kind of helped the hero a little bit on their journey, which is Tarawet, which is, the if you guys don't know, it's the hippo that we see at the end, who historically, if I'm not mistaken, is the goddess of fertility mainly, but is also associated with rebirth. Yeah, which makes total sense.
Resurrection,
rebirth, just a renewal of life in general.
Yeah. Which makes sense why we could probably be in his head, because his body, he is most likely dead. He's most likely dead. So all his personalities are contained within his mind, whether he is stuck in a limbo or something. So we still don't know what it could be, but most people are speculating that we are in his mind, which is why Mark and Steven can see each other, and then Jake is like, hello guys, let me out. And
Jake is Maddie in Euphoria.
And then we end with Tara, and hopefully this is just we'll learn more about Mark, because I want to know more about him. I want to know more about him as a character, because one thing that Marvel does so well is its characters. Literally, Victoria Alonso was talking about this once, where whenever you see a title, it's the name of a character, like Doctor Strange, the Marvels. They are so character focused, because they know that people want to see themselves as heroes. People want to see themselves in these characters. No
matter the age.
Yeah, I want to be able to connect with Mark and Steven and maybe Jake.
Maybe. We gotta we gotta test the waters first on that one. just in case.
Because Jake is a violent one, apparently. But
I make nightmares, bitch!
I make nightmares, that's Jake. That is Jake. But yes, eventually, if we meet Jake, maybe we can vibe with him. I mean, the entire MCU fandom loves its villains, so we shall see. But I also like how they do not villainize any of these characters. And that in episode 3, Mark admits that he is unwell and that he needs help, because it came from Mark, not from Steven. And I remember watching that scene and just thinking, please tell the truth, because I think that is very necessary for his character, and I like that they went in that direction. Other than that, I really want to love these characters. I genuinely want to love them, and like, again, I love Layla. I love what they did with her in episode 4, and episode 3, but mostly episode 4, because it was actually one scene entirely by herself, and just that whole thing with the gonna call him persecutor at the moment, and the whole thing with the bone and everything, and that was generally like, oh, okay, so is this what that's the theme, just me going, is this what people are talking about,
right? Yeah, because again, I'm not, until episode 4, not really getting the horror aspect of it. I think the most horror we got was like, you know, a scene here or there, like the storage warehouse scene, the storage warehouse scene, a little scary until it went to the freeze frame. It's the thing about horror is that it's the tension. Yeah, it's the tension. You have to live in that moment, and unfortunately they do it so fast paced that you can't be scared. Feels like a TikTok. As the pacing of a TikTok half the time. Not a fan of that. But aside from all of that, now that we've seen episode 4, I think I can recommend it, but I gotta put like a whole list of disclaimers. But yeah, I think I'm Moon Knight out, because if not, I'll just keep rambling. Yeah. But we can recommend it, but here are disclaimers. Yeah. Red flags, if you will. There you go. All these disclaimers. Be patient with it. If you are a big comic book fan of Moon Knight, I've been seeing a pretty positive reception from big comic book fans, except for, I think there was actually, if I'm speaking out of turn, excuse me, there was a little bit of like frustration with how Steven is being portrayed, which I can get because it's kind of cringe at times, but once you go with the flow and let it happen, it grows on you. But again, I think the biggest weakness of this show is the fact that you have to be patient with it, and that you have to, even like you mentioned, you have to rewatch it to actually like start vibing with it. I don't rewatch shit. Yeah, I don't rewatch anything. If I don't like it the first time, why am I going to watch it again? Unless I absolutely have to. So, hit or miss. Not Marvel's strongest, not Disney Plus's strongest, but Moon Knight is definitely better than some, it's not bottom tier. By no means necessary. It's not bottom tier Marvel. It's not bottom tier Disney Plus Marvel. But it's definitely not top tier. And so far, if it sticks to landing, which is kind of an issue that's been persistent with this Disney Plus Marvel series, if it sticks to series finale, then I will consider it more as a whole, which I guess we'll probably talk about once that actually happens in 2 weeks. So fingers crossed, it's good. So definitely be on the lookout for our end of the series review, because right now, of course, just talking about the first 4, and we'll just talk about that, the future of the MCU, because coming after this would be Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're getting Doctor Strange in like less than a month, which is kind of crazy how that's crept up. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's crept up on me, but maybe it's because I've been busy. But it's kind of crept up, that date. But let's see, Multiverse of Madness definitely shows a competent level of promise for its horror. But I digress. We digress. Check it out. It's on Disney Plus. Links down below. Where can they find you, Josie? You can find me at the Josie Marie on Twitter and Letterboxd, and you can find Film Posers at Film Posers practically everywhere. You can also follow us at Filmme Talk with 2 M's and an E, FILMME, or you can look around because we have it in the title. You got that right. Yeah, be sure to subscribe on Twitter or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And turn on the notifications bell so that you will be the first to know when we upload a review or a podcast episode or anything and everything in between. You can also find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Captain Melendez, and you can follow us everywhere. And leave a comment down below what you're feeling about Moon Knight so far, what you think of this episode. Obviously, please be kind, but we are all ears, and we love to hear from you all. So thank you for watching, and hope you have a good one. Bye!